Women notice things most men never think about. The way you stand near her, how you use your hands when you talk, the split second before you make physical contact. These tiny moments tell her everything she needs to know about your confidence, your intention, and whether she wants to be closer to you or pull away. And here's the interesting part. She doesn't always understand why she feels drawn to one man and completely indifferent to another. She just knows. Something about him feels right. Something about him feels safe, but exciting at the same time. She can't put her finger on it, but the feeling is real and it stays with her long after the moment passes. What most men don't realize is that physical touch, even the simplest, most casual kind, communicates more than 100 compliments ever could. It bypasses logic and speaks directly to her instincts. And if you know how to use it correctly, you create an impression that's almost impossible to erase. Today, I'm going to walk you through something that changes the entire dynamic between you and a woman. It's not about tricks or manipulation. It's about understanding what she's actually responding to when you make contact. Because every time you reach out, every time your hand lands on her arm or her back or her shoulder, she's reading you. And the message you send in those moments either builds attraction or kills it instantly. Think about the last time you greeted someone you were attracted to. Maybe you shook her hand. Maybe you went in for a quick side hug. Maybe you just waved from across the room because you weren't sure what else to do. Now, think about how that moment felt. Was it smooth? Was it natural? Or was there a weird hesitation, a fraction of a second where you second-guessed yourself and she noticed? That hesitation is what separates confident men from everyone else. It's not about being aggressive. It's not about invading her space. It's about knowing exactly what you're doing and doing it without apology. Women can feel the difference between a man who touches her because he's supposed to and a man who touches her because he's comfortable in his own skin. Let me tell you about something that happened to a friend of mine. He's a good-looking guy, successful, well-spoken, but for the longest time, he couldn't figure out why women never seemed interested beyond the first conversation. He'd meet someone, they'd talk, she'd smile, laugh at his jokes, and then nothing. No second date, no text back, just polite distance. One day we were out and I watched him interact with a woman he'd just met. Everything was fine until the moment they said goodbye. He went in for a hug, but it was stiff, awkward. His arms barely wrapped around her, and he pulled away so fast it looked like he was trying to escape. The entire interaction changed in that instant. She went from warm and engaged to distant and done. Later, I asked him what happened. He didn't even realize what he'd done wrong. He thought he was being respectful. He thought he was giving her space. What he didn't understand was that his discomfort made her uncomfortable. His hesitation made her question everything that came before it. Because if he couldn't even hug her with confidence, what did that say about everything else? Here's the truth. Women are incredibly perceptive when it comes to body language. They notice the tension in your shoulders. They feel the uncertainty in your movements. They pick up on the slightest shift in your energy. And when you touch her, whether it's a handshake, a hug, or a hand on her shoulder, she's processing 1,000 tiny signals all at once. So let me break down what actually matters. Let me show you the elements that make physical contact feel natural, confident, and magnetic instead of awkward, creepy, or forgettable. First, there's the approach. Most men either rush in or hold back too long. Both are wrong. Rushing makes you look desperate. Holding back makes you look scared. What works is moving with intention. Not fast, not slow, just deliberate. When you decide to make contact, you do it smoothly. No second guessing. No hesitation. You reach out like it's the most natural thing in the world because to you, it is. Women respond to decisiveness. They want to feel like you know what you're doing, even if it's just a simple greeting. The way you move toward her sets the tone for everything that follows. If you're confident in that moment, she relaxes. If you're uncertain, she tenses up. It's automatic, it's subconscious, and it happens every single time. Now let's talk about placement. Where you put your hand matters more than you think. A hand on the shoulder communicates something completely different than a hand on the lower back. A firm grip says something different than a light touch. And most men have no idea which one to use or when. Here's what I've learned. The shoulder is powerful. It's assertive without being invasive. It's close enough to create connection, but not so intimate that it feels like you're overstepping. When you place your hand on her shoulder, especially during a conversation or a greeting, you're establishing presence. You're showing her that you're comfortable being close to her without making it weird. But here's the key. It can't be limp. It can't be a ghost touch where your hand barely makes contact and floats away a second later. That kind of touch screams insecurity. It tells her you're not sure if you're allowed to be there. And the moment she senses that, attraction dies. Instead, your hand needs to land with purpose. Not rough, not grabbing, just firm, grounded, like you're anchoring the moment. When you do this, something shifts. She feels your confidence physically. It registers in her body before her mind even has time to process it. And that feeling, that sense of being in the presence of a man who knows what he's doing, is what creates attraction. There's also something most men completely overlook. The duration, how long you maintain contact. Too short and it feels like you're afraid. Too long and it gets uncomfortable. But when you get the timing right, when you hold just a little longer than expected without crossing into awkward territory, you create a moment she remembers. Let me give you an example. Imagine you're saying hello to a woman you've met a few times before. She's friendly, but you're not sure if there's any interest. Instead of the standard quick hug or handshake, you place your hand on her shoulder as you greet her. You hold it there for just a beat longer than normal. Not so long that she notices it consciously, but long enough that she feels it. In that moment, you're doing something powerful. You're creating a small pocket of intimacy. You're showing her that you're not in a rush, that you're present, that you're comfortable being close to her. And because most men never do this, because most men are either too timid or too eager, you stand out. You become the guy she thinks about later without quite knowing why. But there's another layer to this. It's not just about the touch itself. It's about what your touch communicates about your overall energy. Are you calm? Are you grounded? Or are you tense, fidgety, awkward? Because she can feel all of that through your hand. This is where most men fail. They focus so much on doing the right thing that they forget to just be. They're in their heads, overthinking every move, worried about messing up, and that mental tension translates directly into physical tension. She feels it, and it repels her. The solution is simple but not easy. You have to relax. You have to be present in your body, not trapped in your thoughts. When you touch her, you're not performing. You're not executing a technique. You're just being a confident man who's comfortable with physical closeness. That's it. Here's something else that changes everything. Your breath. I know that sounds strange, but stay with me. When you're nervous, your breathing becomes shallow. You hold your breath without realizing it. Your body tenses up, and she feels all of that. But when you breathe deeply and slowly, when your body is relaxed and your chest rises and falls naturally, something different happens. You become a calming presence. Your energy affects her energy. She relaxes because you're relaxed. And in that relaxed state, attraction has room to grow. This is why some men just have a presence that women are drawn to. It's not about looks or money or status. It's about energy. It's about being grounded in your own body and comfortable in your own skin. And when you combine that kind of presence with confident, intentional touch, you become magnetic. Now, let's talk about context. When and where you make contact matters just as much as how. A hand on her shoulder during a loud conversation at a party feels different than the same gesture in a quiet coffee shop. A greeting hug at the end of a first date lands differently than one at the beginning. You have to read the situation. But here's the good news. The more you practice being present and confident in these moments, the more natural it becomes. You stop overthinking, you stop second guessing, you just know when the moment is right and you move accordingly. One of the biggest mistakes I see men make is waiting for permission. They wait for her to signal that it's okay. They wait for some obvious green light. And while you should never touch someone who clearly doesn't want to be touched, waiting for explicit permission in every moment kills the spontaneity and tension that make interactions exciting. Confident men don't ask. They lead, they create the moment, they take the risk, and most of the time when it's done with respect and awareness, women appreciate it because it shows strength. It shows that you're not afraid of rejection. It shows that you're willing to take the lead instead of waiting for her to do all the work. Let me tell you about another situation. A guy I know met a woman at a work event. They talked for a while, had great conversation, lots of laughs. At the end of the night, he walked her to her car. Most men would have just said goodbye and walked away. But he didn't. As they stood there talking, he reached out and gently placed his hand on her arm while making a point. It was brief, natural, not forced. And in that moment, everything changed. She later told him that was when she started thinking of him differently. That one touch shifted the dynamic from friendly to something more. That's the power of confident, intentional contact. It doesn't have to be dramatic. It doesn't have to be some grand gesture. It just has to be real, grounded, and unapologetic. So here's what you need to remember. Physical touch is a language. And like any language, you can learn to speak it fluently. You can learn to communicate confidence, attraction, and presence without saying a single word. But it starts with being comfortable in your own body. It starts with letting go of the fear of doing it wrong and embracing the willingness to do it at all. Stop overthinking. Stop waiting for the perfect moment. Stop letting hesitation rob you of opportunities to connect. The next time you're with a woman you're interested in, pay attention to how you make contact. Is it confident or tentative? Grounded or shaky? Intentional or accidental? And if it's not where you want it to be, change it. Practice being present. Practice moving with purpose. Practice touching her shoulder, her arm, her back with the kind of calm certainty that makes her feel safe and excited at the same time. Because here's the truth that no one talks about. Attraction isn't logical. It's not a checklist of qualities or accomplishments. It's a feeling, and that feeling is created in moments, small moments, moments where you reach out and she feels something shift, moments where your confidence speaks louder than your words ever could. You don't need to be perfect. You don't need to have all the answers. You just need to be willing to show up fully, to touch her like you mean it, and to trust that your presence is enough. Because when you do that, when you stop hiding and start embodying the kind of energy that women are naturally drawn to, everything changes. She sees you differently, she feels you differently, and that difference is what turns a polite interaction into something she can't stop thinking about.